Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much. Today we are with Maryellen from California, and she's a psychologist, counselor, and she created her company. So, but Maryellen, if you want, maybe introduce yourself much better than what I did.
Well, thank you, Olivia. It's so good to see you. So I have a psychotherapy practice in San Francisco, California called San Francisco Family Therapy. And I also have a program called Messy Parenting, Progress Not Perfection, and which I offer a lot of parenting workshops as well, and family workshops. I am a certified Gottman therapist for couples from the Gottman Institute, certified by them. And I have specialized training in family therapy, ADHD or ADHD-like symptoms, trauma. I have a certificate in child parent psychotherapy 0 to 5, and also EMDR. And I am working towards my certification in emotional freedom technique, tapping, for trauma as well. So.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, can you explain to me and to the people they will watch this video how you decided you arrived to create your company, arrive with them, because but we know each other now for different years when I was working and living in San Francisco, but the people they don't know you have a really interesting background and beautiful step in your life, so I really would like if you can share with us the the way you arrive.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so I studied human communication when I was an undergraduate in college in the United States, and I went into business work, and I was thinking about going to business school and studying for tests for business school, and realized I didn't really want to do that. That wasn't my passion. My passion was really helping people. And so I looked at different programs, and I took a couple classes at City College of San Francisco in psychology, and realized that I wanted to get a master's in counseling psychology. And I did that at the University of San Francisco, which was where I'd actually done several years before my bachelor's degree. So I did my program in San Francisco, and I then worked on my hours, and I worked in various mental health settings. So nonprofits, dual diagnosis treatment centers for adults where you're treating, an addiction plus a mental health problem, and then in the San Francisco Unified School District. And I really found my passion in a layered form, almost like a cake. So I loved working with kids. I'd done that in my practicum. Then I had worked with adults with really severe mental illness. And then I decided I really wanted to learn about families and parenting. And then went ahead and did specialized couples training. So I really like looking at the whole picture and the whole family. I've been in practice since 2008. I was part-time while I was working full-time. Many of us therapists do this to start a private practice. And then in 2012, I went full-time into my private practice, and I left the school district. And in 2017, a few years before that, I had started volunteering a business networking group for other self-employed practitioners, other therapists, that I co-started with a financial advisor who, really said, "Oh, why aren't you networking and the therapist network, and how do you support each other in business?" So he offered space and mentored me how to do this, and brought in speakers. And so one of the speakers was a corporate attorney who really helped us all understand, at what point do you take your therapy practice, incorporate it into a corporation, an S Corp, a business. And so in 2017, I incorporated into an S Corp. And then I was able to hire interns in my practice and train them. So I had supervised before, but now I was also employing them. And then I took on a psychoeducational testing professional who tests people, neuropsych and psychological testing. And then with the pandemic, things have changed. My interns actually got licensed, and they launched their own private practice. And my friend who was doing the psychoeducational testing now lives in LA. So we scaled back a little bit in 2020 with the pandemic. but I've been working on a children's book, and
You're
I've been
working in children's book?
on a children's book. Yeah, yeah.
Because I'm doing a postgraduate in illustration children's book, and
You can illustrate it. That would be great.
I'm writing and illustrating, so I'm learning, but because I want to really have a more professional part, and yeah, oh, but yeah, of course, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And I joined a writing group on meetup.com. So people watching this, there are lots of ways to do this. And I started working with a wonderful editor, Jesse Bird, Byrd, and he's been terrific. And I've learned so much in these writing workshops, listening to other people write, being able to share my stories, and then getting critique back. And now I'm working on, finishing the content. And the story I'm writing is to really build empathy for children and families, to be able to read a book and then to be able to think and reflect on, how do I feel when I see somebody is lonely? How do I feel when I see, somebody doesn't have access to food? How do I feel when I see someone being treated poorly, but in a developmentally appropriate way, where it can provide, a really rich opportunity for conversation, whether the book is read in a classroom or is read at home. So that's what I've been working on. Plus, I have a full-time psychotherapy practice, all on Zoom now, and then I'm working on finishing up my hours for my certification for emotional freedom technique, which I'm finding really helpful for people, especially in the pandemic, to be able to use a somatic intervention to process anxiety and really hard, challenging things that people are going through. So that's what I do. And I have a little therapy dog in my practice. And I trained her for
Yeah.
2 years. Yeah,
Oh,
she
how you use how your dog is can you explain how?
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I did what's called AKC, American Kennel Certification. So for 2 years, we went to classes from the time she was, I don't know, 10 or 12 weeks old. And so she would be perfectly fine being around anybody. Within the first 12 weeks, I had to introduce her to 150 people of different races and ethnicities and ages. So she really will go and say hello to anybody. And that was following the work of a man named Ian Dunbar, who does positive discipline and psychology for dogs. And then I continued on into classes with a trainer. And so she really just has a presence in the practice where people come in, she greets them. Sometimes she'll sit at their feet. Sometimes she'll hop up a little stool and sit next to them. She's very sensitive if people are crying or upset with each other. And she transformed the practice. People really were able to empathize or get in touch with a feeling, or even look at the dog, Dublin Rose, that's her name. She's a little Yorkshire Terrier, and be able to say, like, oh, she's looking at me, I'm crying. And I said, yeah, she's empathetic with you. And, it kind of became a thing where, everyone, where's Dublin? How's Dublin? Is Dublin here? Does she want to sit next to me? And it just became this way for people. I think animals just tap into this place where we're able to be more vulnerable. So she sometimes appears on Zoom. So it's been a little different this year with the pandemic, but she's been a wonderful addition to the practice. Yeah.
Okay, wow, well, thank you so much. Well, a lot. It's a wonderful journey. And do you have because you have achieved a lot, a lot things.
A lot over time. So I would say anyone watching this, I'm 44 years old, and it takes time to build. It's like a cake, just layer and layer and layer, and then you end up with a deep set of skills. And it's really nice because then you have a lot in your toolbox to pull out. But it also keeps the work interesting. And in our field, you really have to keep innovating and finding, new evidence-based ways to reach people and really keep current with the time. But I think the primary skill too is just learning how to be a good listener and being present to people. And I think offering that kind of space is, the fundamental skill of being a therapist is just being present and really holding somebody's story and being with them.
Wow, thank you, thank you so much. And I would like because also for me in my work every day, I it's very important the emotion. You were talking about empathy, and do you know I'm specialized in social emotional with the children, and can you, because you are doing a certification, right? You're can you explain to us about what do you think about emotion, because it's tricky. It's I think it's always a tricky topics because sure we are emotional people, everybody, and we feel that, and I don't know, me work with children is always every day is can be also if you use a technique to help them, but can be different with someone else, and always I try to find material create. Actually I would like to create a material more sensitive material for them. So I would like if you can share your experience, because I remember also when I was in San Francisco, you create how you call it?
Oh, I used to do training for the social emotional
I
company,
remember.
Kimochis. Yeah, the Kimochis. In fact, I might even have one laying around. But yeah, I think, I think we all know as people who work with young children, that children really connect to things that are tangible, that they can hold, right? Because their world is so physical. And so, and also because their brain development isn't, that of an adult or a teenager or an adolescent. Talk therapy is not the best way to engage with them, right? They engage through play and stories, right? So, in teaching social emotional skills, finding tools like Kimochis is one of them. It's a KIMOCHIS. They are toys with feelings, right? So these are characters who have certain personalities that kids can relate to, and they also have certain feelings, and they have trouble managing their feelings. Each character has a little difficulty managing each feeling, and then there are little feeling pillows with words. So you can say to a child, "Are you feeling mad?" And it has a mad face on one side and the word "mad" on the other side. And the idea is that children are born, when they're about, when they're newborn, their amygdala, the kind of downstairs brain, which is the automated breathing and reacting, the fight, flight, freeze, it's about 60% formed. And by the time a child is a year old, it's, fully formed, which means that children have full feeling responses like those of adults. What they don't have is the upstairs brain, the executive functioning. And so it's our job to help bring them into the world and to help, help put a word to what they're feeling, and to show through play even what that would look like. With your mad, instead of stomping your feet, you can say, "I'm mad, I need a hug," and really get that through play. And then they come to learn how to name a feeling, express a feeling, and the most important thing is ask for something they need. And sometimes that need is maybe not the best need, like you don't need another cookie. But then the parent can say, "But I understand you're frustrated or you feel mad because you want another one." And then give them a tool to manage that feeling, like maybe next time or tomorrow you can have another cookie. But children who learn how to manage their emotions need adult support, and children who don't have support to manage their emotions end up having behaviors that are very hard for adults to connect to. So the important thing, like in emotion coaching, when you're doing emotion coaching parenting, which I know you do and you're teaching with the Montessori, is to really help a child understand the feeling is happening, it's okay, and then create the path forward for them that's very positive, right? When you're sad, it helps to have a hug. When you're upset, sometimes it helps to cool down. But it's very hard sometimes for parents. They sometimes, when they see their child is mad and they're in a rush and they're feeling that sense in their amygdala of it's like, "We gotta go." It's like fight, flight, "We gotta go, we're late." Then they get in their downstairs brain and then they're not able to stay connected. So it's hard for adults who haven't had emotion coaching to be doing this all the time. And so I think we have to be very empathetic to parents, and really, you're doing this work. Other people out there need to keep doing this work, because as adults and humans in this world, I think we're recognizing we all need support in emotion coaching. And I'm sure everyone can relate to when they've been having a hard day, they reach out to somebody
Mhm.
pretty much for emotion coaching. Like you'll reach out to your friend and say, having such a bad day. And your friend will say, it's okay. Have you thought about taking a walk? And so we all need emotion coaching.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm right. Yeah, you're right. And
Does it answer your question? Is that
yeah,
helpful?
yeah, of course. And
Okay.
you do you continue to do this training, or you stop it to use it, or
Yeah, I in the beginning of the pandemic, I was actually offering some very low cost, messy parenting. I have had some other organizations where I've just done free trainings. I just did one last weekend for a childcare center. So I'm happy to offer, emotion coaching workshops if people are interested in them. And I also participated in a program that was being put together by a friend colleague of mine, Nicole Lamb, who is working with was really concerned about how teenagers and parents are connecting in the pandemic. And so she asked me if I would give some tips around, how to manage conflict. And so I used some of the Gottman information, which is so helpful, teaching people about the 4 things people do in conflict and then the antidotes. So you can apply that with your teenagers. And then helped her to connect to some other professionals that I knew. And then she knew some other professionals. And now she has a YouTube channel of free parenting support for teens
oh,
on YouTube right now. So, and these are wonderful people like Ashanti Branch, who's in the Bay Area, who works with men and boys, Dr. Daniel Amina, who's a psychiatrist. He was in the Bay Area, he's now in LA. Um, uh, Ryan Navarrenma, who is a colleague of mine. I actually used to supervise her when she was an intern, who's a wonderful therapist for teenagers in the Bay Area. So if anyone is interested, you can find her on YouTube. There are a few Nicole Lambs, but you want to look for Nicole Lamb and like parenting teens in a pandemic.
yeah.
So the answer is yes. I love doing workshops. And then I'm also offering another workshop right now, which is a Gottman workshop. I'm trained. It's called Bringing Baby Home. And this is really, it's truly emotion coaching for parents. It's couple skills to really get couples to learn how to connect and deal with conflict and stress and prepare for a transition of welcoming a child into their life. So I think all these types of skills, lots of people do lots of workshops, and I think it's important that people don't feel so isolated. There's still a lot going on online right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right now, yeah, a
Yeah,
lot.
not that we all want to be on Zoom all day long, but it's a
No,
window to the world, right?
actually, in the future, I would like to do my interview in person. So travel and do the interview in person, and also do workshop in person. Go visit schools. I do interview
Yes.
also there. So this is also I wish I'm doing now for the future.
I know for the future, I want to be back with people. It's
Yeah,
just so
so,
different when you can be in an environment and be with people.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course. And uh, I have another question about because I can feel also by Zoom, but I know you, but you're very passionate on that. You love that, and how maybe for the people will listen on this interview, because you say this is a process like a cake, step by step, and we know that, but sometimes some for other people it's difficult to understand and say why, oh, my dream is that one, but I'm doing something different, and but that one will just stay there like a dream, because they cannot come true. But like when I was listening to you, you say I decided to go there because I feel was my. So you listen yourself. This is you were. I think you were in that moment, in the present moment. You felt yourself, and you say, okay, now it's the moment. So. If you can, maybe I don't know.
Yeah, I know what you're getting at, and it's the work you're doing, right? Of trying to help people understand themselves in a more authentic way, right? Where I think you have these moments in life where you have a lot of voices, I think, when you come out of college about what you should do. And
Mm.
I think when I went to college, it really was different, in
Oh,
1994.
me too. We have the same age, so it was
That's
so
different.
different.
Yeah, and you didn't go to college to get a job. That is not why you went to college. You went to college to get an education and to find your passion and see what was interesting to you. And it's so much pressure for kids today. One, because college is so expensive, at least in the United States, and two, that you have to be prepared to get a job in the modern world. And I think you can easily lose a connection to yourself if you're not really paying attention. And so when I went out of college, I didn't know what I really wanted to do. I had a liberal arts education. And my family said, well, why don't you get some experience in business? And I thought, well, why not? I have to pay the bills and I don't really know. And so, I did that and I met great people and worked for some great companies. And I learned a lot of skills that actually really helped me later start my own business. So
Mhm.
I also think sometimes when you're in a job and maybe it's not your passion, there's something there that's going to serve you well later. And so I think it's important wherever you are to like really make the most of that learning opportunity because when I was working in an investment bank and helping making pitch books, later when I had to do my own presentations, I knew exactly how to use PowerPoint. That's okay, that's a functional skill. And then when I was studying and realizing like I'm not interested in studying this. I'm not excited about business school. Why not? And being curious. And also, it didn't happen overnight. I still had to work. I had to go to night school. Um, I went through a layoff after 9/11. I mean, life still happens, right? That was momentous for, I think, our generation compared to like, the pandemic is obviously bigger, but that was a pivotal moment for, when you were living in the United States. And so then I was unemployed. And then I got a emergency teaching credential and I started substitute teaching. And that's how I put myself through graduate school. And that substitute teaching for 2.5 years was so helpful in learning, when you're in different classrooms, K through 12, every week, every day you're in a different school, you really learn about what they're reading, what kind of math level. And so then when I started working with kids, I understood, oh, this is why you're struggling at this, or this is harder. I think there's something off here. Oh, you're doing very well. And so I think it is a layering effect that we have to really trust. you know, Sometimes it takes time to get to a place. It certainly has taken time. There were times when I made no money and I was babysitting again in my late 20s and trying to make it all work. But when you have that passion of what you want to do and you have some grit and you'll do whatever it takes to get there, that's, I think, what is important, that there's no kind of free ride into what you want to do. It takes, even startup companies, what do they say? It takes 7 years to like really get a culture going at a startup, and most startups fail. But I don't think the fail is that the company failed. I think the fail is when people walk away from an experience like that and don't realize, but you tried, you followed your passion, you learned something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much. Eh, can you I know is a big question. I when I say because, like for me, everybody has like a mission in this life.
Mm,
What,
good question.
that is a big question. Like for for me, when I listen you, I like it. It's clear your mission is to be a light for the people, for parenting, and how parenting actually, how it's become a parent interesting, because I work a lot with parents. at
Oh, like how did I get into the parenting part of it?
yeah, because you like I think your purpose in this life,
Mhm.
your talent, they become really deep and deep, and now it's parenting, so
Yeah, again, I think it was like an evolution, and also when I was working with children, realizing that the most effective change would happen was not just being in the therapy room alone with them, but was understanding the family system. And if I could help some of their parents understand, it's that emotion coaching, like how to connect differently. So many parents don't have examples, and they don't have people, people, at least in the United States, live pretty far away from their families. A lot of people in major metropolitan cities, because people come to a city to work, maybe in their 20s, and maybe they partner up, they have children, but they're not living all the time near family. And so a lot of times they're parenting in isolation. And so I think community is so important, but you need models. Like, we all need models. I need models. You need models. I mean, we're trying to model for other people right now. And I think when I realized, that, like, I started a workshop series when I was working at an elementary school, and of parenting every Friday. And when I realized how many parents were showing up, and how they were really just, this information was simple and easy to go home and do, and they were coming back with such success, I realized, like, it's not just that send your kids to school, it's you're in school with them, also learning how to adapt and how to meet them. And I think, nobody gets a parenting class in college.
Yeah,
Nobody
no.
gets a parenting class in graduate school. Nobody gets a relationship class in college. I mean, really, wouldn't that be amazing if it was a much more, relationships were much more fully explained as we're coming into our adulthood.
Wow, thank you so much, Maryellen.
So
It's,
it's my pleasure. You ask very big questions. I love them.
yeah, I know, but after I like people, they can answer this question in the way they prefer, and I really, and uh, and I don't know how you would like maybe finish this interview. Maybe I'm very grateful for this interview. It's amazing. I really like it. You share with us your talent, part of your life, and I'm sure you have other other ideas.
Sure, like, kind of a final wrap up. What do I want people to know about following their passion?
Yeah.
Okay. I think what's important is that no matter where you come from, wherever you are in the world, that, when you are able to listen to yourself and follow yourself and not give up hope. And even if it takes you, it took me years to become a therapist and do what I'm doing. And then it took me years to become where I am now, where I'm not always wondering, did I do the right thing? Um, and I still wonder that sometimes. I think if you can always approach things with curiosity and ask for help and look for mentors, look for the people who want to help you. I love helping people coming into this field, and I help a lot of people, and I love it. And, you know, the world is a very strange place right now, but know that we're all going to be coming out of this. And to really just, if your passion is being delayed, if you had to put off graduate school, if you're not where you want to be, if you haven't written your script yet, that's okay. Be where you are, and don't give up the hope that where you are right now isn't going to inform what you're doing later. So sometimes our passions get delayed, sometimes we have hurdles, but I think the biggest thing is get cheerleaders around you, surround yourself with people who are going to hold you accountable. What did you do to meet that dream next year? What are you doing to meet that goal? But also people who will support you when you are having trouble finding your motivation. So I just hope that people listening really know that, we move through time, and that sometimes it takes time to get to where we want to go, and that's okay.
Well, thank you so much, Maryellen. It
Oh, thanks, Olivia. I'm so glad you're doing these